Hi, and thanks for downloading the Back to Basics program webinar. Super excited to be able to bring you this information. I know it's going to be incredibly helpful as you seek to parent your teens, whether they just need a little help or prove to be extremely difficult and challenging. You're going to get a lot from watching this video, and I always like to start this with telling a little bit of a story. The story is about a kid I once knew. This kid was 1 year old when his parents divorced. His dad split and he never knew him. When he was 5 years old, his mom developed schizophrenia and attempted to take him and his older brother away from their family, extended family, and kept them in a motel room for an extended period of time. When the police removed the boys, they were put in foster care, upon which time his grandmother came and took them out. He was raised by his grandmother. It was a difficult childhood. He never really connected, never really learned how to express love very openly. When he was 12, his older brother was diagnosed with a rare bone cancer in his skull. When he was 16, he attempted to commit suicide. By the time he was 17, he decided to drop out of high school. He was a very angry kid, cursing, yelling, throwing objects, punching holes in walls, leaving without permission, sort of you name it, just completely out of control. At 19, his brother passed away in his arms. He laid him down in his bed, and that's the sort of moment that he describes his life changing forever. At that point, he enrolled in a local community college, started studying psychology, transitioned to a university, went on and got his master's, and now you're listening to him in this webinar as he tells you how to parent your difficult teens. So I say that just to bring a lot of hope and optimism to parents that may be struggling with kids that do present a lot of challenges. Like I said, there is a lot of hope. So I hope that gives some encouragement. Let's go ahead and get into this program. So the first thing I want to talk about is values. As a family, it's important to describe and to define what those values are. In this program, it's important that we focus on love, respect, and honesty, and that those are given freely and expressed freely, regardless of behaviors that we might be experiencing. Uh, After we define our values, we want to look at creating a family vision. This is really the roadmap for where the family wants to go. Brain science shows that when we are in points of stress, we operate from the fight, flight, or freeze area of our brain. When we start the visioning process, we move towards the thinking and strategic planning area of the brain. So not only does it make sense as far as a roadmap, but it really sort of rewires the areas of the brains that we're accessing as we have these discussions as a family. Uh, so parenting, this is sort of the bulk of the program, really. Um, and what we want to do is first define what type of parent are we? Are we a permissive, anything goes kind of parent? Are we authoritarian? It's our way or the highway, ruled by the iron fist kind of parent? Or we are a authoritative parent that allows for negotiation and open dialogue with our teens. Within this parenting, we want to make sure that we focus on identifying the needs in our kids, the needs to connect and belong, the need to escape or avoid, and the need to achieve a material item or access a desired activity. By identifying those needs and filling them creatively, we can really eliminate a lot of the behaviors we look at. In this program, we also focus on looking at escalation curves in terms of what the trigger moment is and how kids escalate up to the top and display that sort of external outward behavior, focusing on avoiding all of the negative outcomes, whether it be sort of an emotional experience or facing actual consequences from their parents. As we talk about consequences, what we really want to focus on is creating incentive structures so that kids learn to take responsibility for their actions, sort of get what you earn kind of mentality, which really helps kids move away from the entitlement that's starting to get rooted in our culture. The next point of focus is communication. What we really want to focus on in communicating with our teens is looking at being strength based, always identifying what the members of our family and particularly our teens are good at, but also looking at how do we give positive praise? How do we see the end of a behavior as an intentional decision point that we can focus on and try to reinforce? So we always want to catch kids doing right. A simple way to think about it is to praise the positive and ignore the negative. Also, asking kids what their rationale is, using devices to draw kids into communication, like instead of how was your day, where generally you'll get fine, to asking more detailed questions such as, did anything happen today that made you sad? Or were there any stories that happened among your friends that were really funny this week? Moves away from the yes or no, fine or okay responses, and makes them sort of answer in a more open-ended way. Um, so those are just some real basic techniques that you can use in trying to draw your kids into more effective communication. Next, uh, quality time. I really focus on this in all of my counseling sessions and in the talks that I do. In that quality time should not include technology devices. Really, what we want to do is strengthen relationships by spending that quality time. So, all devices should be turned in, structuring no technology times and zones, having regular dinners. One thing that I do talk about is that family therapy should happen at the dinner table. That's not to say that professional help isn't needed. I just like to make the point that it is important that we get together at least one time a week. Really, what I hope is that 2 or 3 times a week to have dinners, to check in, to ask those open-ended questions, and to have meaningful communication, as well as spending time in family movie nights, family game nights, outings in the community, whatever you can do just to, like I said, strengthen that time spent together. So that's just a little basic, brief sort of overview on some things that I think are helpful and some points of focus that the Back to Basics program really expands upon in the book and the workbook. Um, but I hope you found this helpful, and just thanks for taking the time to download this and listen to this. If you have any additional questions, feel free to shoot me an email through my website, and I'll make sure I try to get back to everybody who has a question. All right, well, good luck in parenting your teens, and I know armed with this useful information, you will be successful and you'll be able to develop those quality relationships that I know you've envisioned within your family for a long time. Thank you.